Oga Okoko's eyes widened with excitement. "Wow," he screamed. "One for me and the other to make money. You are truly a blessing," he said to Chinwe. Chinwe sat on the old wooden stool in front of a secluded hut in the village of Oka. The atmosphere was quiet, save for the distant sound of crickets coming from within the forest. Mbadiwe, a man who had persistently pursued Chinwe's affection, sat across from her, his eyes filled with concern and confusion. "Chinwe, why have you sent away all the men of this village? Why do you give me hell when all I want is to be close to you, to help you?" Mbadiwe's voice trembled with emotion. Chinwe's eyes welled up with tears. "You want to know why I hate men? Why I can't trust any of them?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. As tears streamed down her face, Chinwe begins to recount her story. Once upon a time, in the village of Ofo, there lived a chubby, plus-sized, happy little girl called Chinwe, the only daughter of Mr. Ezedike. Her mother passed away when she was only 2 years old. Growing up, Chinwe faced a lot of body shaming from her peers. She was considered different as she was an introvert and seemed to shy away from both male and female friends her age. She would always sit alone in her father's hut without mingling with the other children of the village. This was because, other than being a chubby child, Chinwe had a deep secret she was afraid of and didn't want others to discover. She was born with an anomaly. She had 2 vaginas. She was different, and being without a mother from the age of 2 made it even more difficult for Chinwe to comprehend the differences of her body. She had no one to talk to or share affairs with regarding why she was different from her peers. Her father, Mr. Ezedike, was a negligent father. He paid Chinwe no attention as a child, leaving her to face her fears and struggles all alone. She had questions, but her questions had no one to answer. Her father always treated her like she was a burden, a property he could not wait to dispose of someday. And so, Chinwe somehow found a way to navigate through life independently and managed to keep a little secret from everyone in the village of Ofo. Chinwe grew into a beautiful damsel, and it was now time for her to be married off to a man in the village. Chinwe was very hardworking despite her size. She was the one doing all the farm work on her father's farm and bringing home harvest for their consumption. In her adulthood, she started dating a young man named Chike. Chinwe would cook, clean, and wash all the dirty clothes of all Chike's entire family. She was doing this because she felt so insecure, and she was afraid that if Chike's family found out about her abnormality, they might decide to not let Chike take her in as a wife. Chike's family would always praise Chinwe. "Chike," his mother would say, "you have done well by bringing us the most hardworking woman in this village." Chike's family would rain praises on Chinwe. Chinwe thought she had found her place, but when it was time for Chike to marry, his parents told him to choose someone slimmer. "You cannot marry that girl," his parents screamed at Chike. "If she is already fat like this before childbirth, how will she be after childbirth? Please, get someone slimmer and beautiful to bring to us as a wife," they pressured their son. "We don't want Chinwe. She is good for a girlfriend, but not for us as a wife," they told Chike. Chike struggled to decide whether or not to carry on with his plans on marrying Chinwe. Worry etched on his face as he pondered. If my parents are rejecting Chinwe for her size, what will they do if they find out she is not normal and has 2 separate, awkward-looking vaginas? One bright and sunny afternoon, Chinwe was on her way to Chike's place to spend some quality time with him. But when she got there, she met a wedding ceremony taking place. Chike was getting married to a beautiful slim damsel from their village. Chinwe ran back to her hut in tears. She cried and cried. She had done everything humanly possible to please Chike and his family. She had shared even her deepest secrets with Chike, and he had accepted her that way, promising to marry her. She believed his parents and sisters loved her. Cried and cried. What other man in this village will accept me now? She now had to reveal her secret once again. When her father, Mr. Ezedike, returned home that day, he began to rain insults on Chinwe. What man would want to marry a fat-looking thing like you, he said. You know you are not normal like other girls, yet you allowed yourself to eat and get fat. Tell me which man in this village would want to marry a woman that may not be able to give birth? Her father mocked. Which of your O's would the child come out from? Tell me. And we don't have the medical advancements to perform a surgery when the time comes if there are complications. You better look for a man because I will not allow you to grow old with me in this house, her father said and walked away. The following week, Chinwe ran to Chike's house in the cover of night. She sent him a secret message to come out and see her for the last time. She asked Chike in tears why he decided to abandon her like that despite all they shared. Chike begged her that it was all his parents' decision and he had no choice. Chinwe pleaded with him to take her as a second wife, that she was ready and did not mind. She would wash his wife's clothes and do all the chores for her, but Chike told her that he could not displease his wife for her. Chinwe left Chike's house broken and shattered, unknown to her that Chike was about to do something even worse. Chike felt jealous that another man would be the one to begin to enjoy Chinwe's hardworking, her good food, and even more, her double engines she was carrying. So he began to start sharing Chinwe's secret to other men in the village, discouraging them not to go close to Chinwe. She was abnormal and she was likely to have complications during childbirth. One by one, he spread the message to them. A few months passed, and one sunny day, Chinwe was walking down the street, hoping to be stopped by one of the handsome village men. They called her name and stopped her. Chinwe was full of joy. Two handsome men were calling for her attention for the first time since Chike. So you have two engines, one of them said. She is so big and fat that she has enough space for not just one, but two vaginas, the other muttered. Can we see? The both of them said as they burst out in laughter. Chinwe was so shocked and ashamed. She ran home and began to cry. Her secret was out. Now, everyone in the village knew about her abnormality. Her dream of ever being married was over. Chinwe began to starve herself and take slimming herbs. She had to cut down the weight. Maybe someone else would accept her if she wasn't also fat, coupled with her abnormality. 4 years passed and Chinwe became almost unrecognizable. She had slimmed down so much, she had been eating once a day for the past 4 years. She was now so different looking, like the other beautiful girls in the village. But though she was able to get rid of the weight, sadly, she was not able to change the abnormal state of her vagina. One day, her father called her and told her she could no longer continue to live with him anymore. All her age mates were now married. Despite all the weight she had shed, no man in their village was coming for her out of fear of childbirth complications. He told her that he had finally found an old man in a faraway village that had accepted to marry her. Apparently, the man did not care to have children, so he agreed to the marriage. Mr. Ezedike told Chinwe that he was sending her off the next day to her husband. Chinwe cried and begged her father to give her a little more time. Someone someday may show up who would love, accept and marry her the proper way, but her father refused and did not listen to her cries. The next day, he gave her his blessings and sent her off to her husband. When Chinwe got there, the middle-aged man, Oga Okoko, was excited to see his wife. He could not wait to behold the wonders between her legs. When night came and it was time for consummation, Oga Okoko asked Chinwe to open her legs wide open for him. She did in fear and panic. Oga Okoko's eyes widened with excitement. "Wow!" he screamed. "One for me and the other to make money. You are truly a blessing," he said to Chinwe. But Chinwe had no idea what her new husband had in mind. After their first wedding night, Oga Okoko began to advertise his wife to all the men of the village, telling them of the wonders of his woman's private parts. Men would pay him huge sums of money to come in at night and behold Chinwe's very different body parts. If they paid double, Mr. Okoko would allow them enter the second vagina of his wife. One of her vaginas was sacred and for his pleasure alone. while the other he used to service the entire village. In no time, Chinwe's house became almost like a tourist center for men, as men trooped in to see, behold, and have fun with Chinwe, while Mr. Okoko's money continued to stack up and he got richer and richer by the day. Chinwe would cry and cry, begging her husband to stop what he was doing, but he would rebuke her, telling her that it was God's way of blessing their marriage. One vagina was enough for him, so God gave them two, so others can enjoy and they could make money. And so, this was how Chinwe became a prostitute in her own matrimonial home, a specimen to be exhibited for the pleasure of men. She had no one to run to save her from that hell. Her father would not care, and she had no one in her husband's village to run to for help. Soon, Chinwe became sick. Her husband continued to scream to her to work. He could not afford to lose the customers that were coming that night. Chinwe kept crying to him that she wasn't feeling well. Her husband reluctantly called in the doctor the next day, who informed him that Chinwe had contacted herpes and her life was in danger, as the disease, if not controlled, could spread to any of her organs and damage it. It could even lead to her death, and the illness had no cure. Mr. Okoko was furious when he heard this. Despite the doctor's stern warning, Mr. Okoko continued to force Chinwe in her condition to service more men in the village. 3 months passed and Chinwe could no longer bear the torment she was going through, while her husband enjoyed all the money he was getting. One fateful night, she finally summoned some courage. She snuck up on her husband, who was counting money on the bench, and hit him with a pistol from behind. He immediately fell to the ground unconscious. Chinwe ran and ran that night, away from her marriage, away from her husband, the one thing she had been told from childhood would give her life meaning and make her a real woman. Chinwe fled to another distant village where no one knew her, the village of Iba. There she began to live as a stranger, not speaking to anyone, just as she did in her previous years as a child. Chinwe had developed such a deep disdain for men. The thought of men made her sick. Her father, her first boyfriend whom she loved, and her husband, they were all evil creatures, and she wanted to have nothing to do with them ever again. The men of the village began to come after her, but Chinwe would run from them like a plague. The sight of men ignited the awful trauma of her past. Unable to avoid men and stop them from seeking her and coming around her, she fled into a secluded hut deep inside the forest. There she continued to live a sad life, all alone with her disease, but at least she was free from the monsters called men. One day, a lonely hunter was hunting in the bushes. Chinwe was on a very tall tree trying to pluck fruits to eat. Suddenly, she missed a foot and began to fall. A scream captured the hunter's attention. As he began to run towards the tree, he saw a woman falling from a very high distance to the ground. Plunging forward, the hunter reached for Chinwe and caught her straight into his arms. He had never seen such a beautiful thing in his life. Chinwe quickly came down and ran. "Wait, what is your name?" the hunter asked, but Chinwe ran away from him in fear without glancing back. The hunter returned back to his hut but could not sleep. He could not stop thinking about the woman he had caught. He could not fathom what a beautiful woman was doing deep inside the forest alone. He decided to go back, and there he found Chinwe's secluded hut. From then, he began to chase Chinwe. He wanted to help. He wanted to know why she was all alone, living in the dangerous forest by herself. But Chinwe was afraid. She just could not get away from men no matter where she hid. She would do everything in her power to chase the hunter away, frustrating all his efforts to come into her life. But no matter what she did to push him away, he kept coming. His name was Mbadiwe. He tried to forget about her and leave her to her fate, since she wanted nothing to do with him. But no matter what he did, something kept telling him to go back to her and help her. After a whole year of this man not giving up on Chinwe, Chinwe finally became broken by Mbadiwe. No one had shown such dedicated care and attention to her all her life, but she feared if she opened up once again to another man, he would betray and abuse her again, just like the others, because she was different. One silent evening, Chinwe finally began to share her story with Mbadiwe, telling him all she had gone through in the hands of men, how she got infected, and why she now lived a solitary life, all alone in the deep forest, not caring for her life if she was eaten up by a wild animal or if she died. Her life was worthless. She could die anytime if her disease spread to other parts of her body or damaged her organs. She had to run away from her husband to save herself so she could extend her life a little longer. After hearing her story, Mbadire was so touched and felt as though he went through all the pain Chinwe had experienced. He told her he was different and did not mind her disease. He was going to prove to her that there were still good men who don't judge women by their bodies or see women only as objects of sexual gratification. And so, that was how Chinwe agreed to give Mbadire a chance. On the night of their consummation, Mbadire was blown away by the sight of how different Imi's vagina looked. Imi was afraid and panting. She did not know what his reaction would be or what he would do next too. But Mbadire reassured Chinwe and told her it was just beautiful. It was a beautiful gift God had given him. He made love to her and married her. Right there in the deep forest, they both began to live as one happy family. Mbadire began to treat Chinwe with potent herbs to manage her disease. Chinwe later went on to give birth safely to beautiful, healthy children, contrary to prior expectations. Right there inside the deep forest, where Chinwe was waiting to die, where no one could see her, Chinwe's true love found her against the odds. This tale teaches us that no matter the scars we may have endured in love, no matter how dire the situation may have gotten, there is still always that someone that would walk into our life one day and change everything. Always remember, you were never the problem. Meeting the wrong people was. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on our next story.